Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to be bringing you episode number 2. And y'all know me, I like to just jump right into the topic because I am really on a mission. And my mission is to help you to first see how the life that you're living right now may not have been designed by you. To help you figure out what it is you really, really want in life, and to help you get rid of the fear and all the external expectations that's really preventing you from getting it. And then also my mission is about helping you to reinvent a life that is designed only by you based off of your internal intuition. Okay? So what do I mean when I say you may be living a life not designed by you? And you may not have even given it much thought, right? But much of your life has been shaped by the lies. They told us about womanhood, the lies about motherhood, and the lies about our sexuality. All of this has been shaped by external influences, whether it's from your parents, society, culture, or religion, by following these scripts that they wrote for us. I talked about that in one of my YouTube shorts about the different scripts. But as women, we are often conditioned from a very early age to follow certain expectations, to conform to roles and identities that don't always align with who we truly are. Now, all of these expectations come from society, culture, religion, traditions, like I've already mentioned. And what happens is, over time, they get deeply ingrained, shaping the way that we perceive ourselves, the decisions that we make, the people that we date, the way that we create our goals and design and live our life. But the truth is, much of what we have been taught about womanhood, motherhood, and especially sexuality, woman's sexuality, was built on lies. Yes, I use the word lies because you didn't really get much of an input. Nobody asked you what you wanted. Nobody asked for your approval. A script was already written for you, and the lie means that it was never true for you in the first damn place. And that is what keeps you disconnected from your authentic self, from your true essence. So one of the first parts on your journey to awakening to your authentic self has to begin first when you start to question these falsehoods and these lies. And ask yourself, is this really true for me? So you can begin to reclaim your power and take your power back. And I'm going to discuss some very practical steps in one of my other videos that I have coming up, showing you how you can begin this process, first becoming more self-aware and the questions you need to start asking yourself, and how you can start to unlearn so you can rediscover what is really, really true for you. But first, we're going to talk about these lies. Okay? So, one of the lies I want to start with that we were taught as women is that your worth is tied to external validation. So one of the biggest lies women have been fed is the notion that our worth is tied to getting this external validation from other people. Whether if it is our appearance, our achievements, or our ability to meet society standards of what it means to be a good woman. We've been taught that to be a good woman, we need to be selfless, nurturing, and we should always put the needs of other people above our own. Now, some of this is conscious, some of this is subconsciously indirect teaching, right? But as a result of this, we often find ourselves striving to meet the expectations of other people, family, husbands, partners, friends, kids, even strangers, seeking for this approval so we can feel worthy. So this constant need for approval, what it does is it keeps us locked in a cycle of people pleasing, perfectionism, and it really impacts our ability to develop into our true essence, crippling our self-esteem along the way. Let me give you an example. This example happened to me one day when I was at a Walgreens recently. So I was standing in line, and there was a lady and her child in front of me. And the little girl was looking at, like on the side, they have like candy and toys and stuff like that. She's probably about 4 or 5 years old, and she was admiring this teddy bear. It had a flower attached to it. There's just different colors, different ones you can pick from. And she was practically begging her mother, like, Mom, please buy this for me. I really want this teddy bear, right? The mother was trying to deal with some other issue, right? With the credit card declining and all that kind of stuff, right? So I took it upon myself to say, well, I'll buy it for you. I'll get it. Which color would you like to have? This little girl looked at me and she immediately had a sad face. I don't know why. I didn't say anything. That's all I said, right? And she said, no, I don't want it anymore. I was confused about it. I didn't know why. But I'm an adult. I'm fine. I'm a big girl, right? So I didn't take it personal. But her mother also heard it. Her mother turned around and immediately said, honey, that's not nice. Don't say things that are not nice. That's pre-programming they teach us as women. We should be nice. We can't be a bitch, right? So in that moment, I'm like, wow, this is a perfect example of how we tell little girls they should always be nice and polite and please other people. Her mother was telling her to ignore her own thoughts, her own feelings, and her own intuition, and put my thoughts and my feelings ahead of hers. So I told the mother, I said, no, it's perfectly fine. For whatever reason, she wanted to decline my offer. She has a right to. Her intuition at 4 or 5 years old was telling her to say no. And that's what she did. We don't have to make it mean anything. We don't have to mean that she's not being nice. The mother kept apologizing to me about it. I had no clue why the little girl changed her mind. She wanted this toy so bad, but then she did it. And it's okay, right? So it doesn't matter what her reason was. I don't have to probe her and try to get her to explain. Her intuition said no to me. So it just made me think about how we really have to allow our daughters to be their authentic self. They should be allowed to say and do whatever it is that's on their mind. Otherwise, we are crushing their authenticity before they can even start to develop who they really want to be. So let your daughter express her thoughts and her true self. She doesn't have to agree with everybody. It's okay. We don't have to make it mean that she's a bad kid or not a nice kid. She doesn't have to give, Uncle Ronnie a hug or a kiss when he comes to visit if she doesn't want to. She doesn't have to agree with somebody just because they're an adult. She is allowed to say no. She is allowed to be upset. She is allowed to cry. And she doesn't have to be nice and say things that are not true because she prefers to say the truth instead. So as women, we have to ask ourselves a very important question. Who am I really? Are the things that I'm doing today, am I seeking somebody's approval for this thing that I'm doing, right? And who are you really? Not the version of you that society wants you to be, your parents want you to be, but the real you. Underneath all the layers of the programming and the conditioning, we spend so much time trying to fit into somebody else's definition of what womanhood should be that we lose sight of our own desires and our own power. I believe that true womanhood is not about conforming to society's limited views of what a woman should be. It's really about being in touch with your inner voice, your inner self, your intuition, and defining yourself on your own terms. So when you stop looking for validation and approval from the outside world, and you start trusting your own instincts, that's when you step into your authentic power. Okay. So here's lie number 2. The lies they tell us about motherhood. I'm a mother, and motherhood is one of the most idealized roles in society. Women are often told that our ultimate purpose in life is to become a mother. And that true fulfillment comes when you become a mother and when you nurture other people. So we learn very early in life that what's important is you have to get the husband, get the ring, get the husband, and have kids. This is one of the biggest achievements they tell little girls to aspire to. Our parents, TV, society, religion also tells us this. What is something that you would say most women say when they finally get engaged or get ready to get married? Oh, I have dreamt about this my entire life, right? I finally get to get married, have kids, raise a family. I've arrived. I am in this superior status of womanhood, right? But what happens when women don't achieve these goals? They feel less of a woman because they haven't birthed a child, or if they decide they don't want to have kids or get married. And what do? We shame them, tell them they're selfish. You probably hear people say things like, who's going to take care of you when you get old, etc., etc. And nobody's asking the real question. I feel like the real question is, do you even want to have kids at all? And most importantly, why do you want them? What is the reason? If they started asking those questions, I believe that a lot of people will struggle to come up with a good reason. Okay. Now, being a mother, it can be rewarding, a very beautiful experience, right? But there's also a lot of things that come with that nobody talks to us about. So where is the lie? So I say that the lie that we've been taught is that being a mother means sacrificing everything, including sacrificing your own identity, and all in the name of being good for our children. Society will paint a picture of this selfless, ever-giving parent, mother, right? But I feel like that narrative is very damaging to the real realities of motherhood, right? And women who struggle with the demands of motherhood, or who desire personal fulfillment in their life outside of motherhood, are often left feeling guilty, inadequate, or shame. They'll say things like, you can't have it all, right? We are told that being a mother should come naturally, that our needs should always come second, and that anything else that is less than total devotion to your family means you're selfish. But this is a trap because we're more than just mothers. I have to remind myself that my kids came into my life. I didn't come into their life. So if anybody is going to be conforming, it's going to be them. It's not going to be me. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sacrifice your kids' health and well-being for your own. You did make the choice to have these kids, whether if it was consciously or subconsciously, right? So you do need to make sure that the job is done well. You do need to consider your children in your life's choices. And that's what I feel like I've done, right? Because I love my kids. And I want them to have a great life, and I want what's best for them, right? But you are also allowed to have your own dreams, your own desires, your own passions, even after you have children and become a mother. Motherhood should not and does not mean losing yourself in this role and being so engrossed and enmeshed in your kids' lives that you lose sight of your own. And you lose sight of who you are, who you want to be. So let me give you guys an example of what I did with my kids very early on, because I wanted them to own their own life and not depend on me every waking second of the day. Now, there are two reasons for me doing that. Some would say I could have been kind of lazy. I didn't feel like doing a lot of this shit. And secondly, I knew that if I did everything for them, I would be doing it for the rest of their life. So I wanted them to get some early practice on how they were going to be accountable for their own life. I figured the earlier we practice owning your own life and being accountable and accepting consequences, this would go a long way with them into their adult years, right? So, for example, since my kids were in grade school, well, let me quickly just mention this. So I do have 3 kids. My oldest daughter is 28, my son is 19, and my youngest daughter is 17. And I was married for 22 years. Now, so the example is I never wake my kids up for school since they were in the 2nd grade, 6, 7 years old, right? It's just been, that's what we do in my house. So my thinking was they need to get the practice on how to be self-motivated and wake themselves up, because when they become adults, they're going to need to know how to wake themselves up when they get a job, to go to work or go to college or whatever they decide to do. I wasn't going to be doing it for them then. So why would I do it now? That's my thinking. So I bought an alarm clock and they got themselves up. They got dressed, whatever they need to do, and they would get on the bus right in front of the house, right? And they knew that if they missed the bus, there were going to be consequences. They didn't like consequences. They didn't like when I take the video games or say, you can't go play outside today because you missed the bus, right? I think my son missed the bus once, and I took his video game and he had a fit, and he was like, can you set my alarm earlier because I'll make sure I'm not missing the bus again. He been getting on the bus ever since, right? So, and then when they became high school age, and if they had decided that day they didn't want to wake up and go to school, I was perfectly fine with it. And if you missed the bus, they knew I wasn't going to take them to school, right? I explained the consequences to them, and they had to make a choice. So I use my 19-year-old son as an example when it comes to school stuff, right? First of all, I'm going to say this because he's a wonderful son. He's funny, he's intelligent, he's handsome, he's loving, he's kind. He's empathetic. He's ambitious. Everything I could want in a son. Super, super, super proud of him, right? Now, when he was in the 10th grade, he was failing algebra. His teachers would send me an email to let me know it's possible that he could fail the 10th grade if he didn't get his grades up, right? And what I would do is I would reply back to that email and let them know, this sounds like my son's problem. This is not a problem of mine because I had already passed the 10th grade. So if my son doesn't want to pass the 10th grade this year, then that means he's just going to have to do it again next year. Please discuss this with my son. Thank you for your email. Okay. Same thing I would tell the teachers when they would call me on the phone. One day, this was 11th grade, different teacher, different class, right? And he wasn't passing this particular class. And I already talked to my son and said, hey, do you want to graduate high school? He said, yes. That was enough for me, right? But the teacher called and said she wanted to speak to me. My son was on the phone like, hey, teacher so-and-so wants to talk to you about my grades. I already told her what you were going to say. She didn't believe me. So he put the teacher on the phone and she said, he may not pass his class and he may not graduate. I told her the same thing. I said, you need to speak to my son about this and not me. I really believe in real life consequences, right? I am not going to sacrifice my sleep, my energy, checking backpacks, checking for homework, making sure you turned it in, going back and forth with teachers, making myself crazy and running myself ragged for something that you should be doing because it's beneficial to you. It's not beneficial to me. I already done these things. Yeah, so if he don't want to pass the 10th grade, he just have to keep doing it until he does. But he did graduate and he's doing fine. So that's just a rant that I have. I'll have many more as I do these videos. So as a mother, I also want to model what it looks like to be a whole, fulfilled woman for my kids. So when you maintain your identity and your autonomy, you're able to show your kids the importance of living authentically and following their own path, their own dreams, and dealing with the consequences that they choose. So it's time for you to redefine what it means to be a mother. What is your definition of a good mother, right? And instead of sacrificing yourself, you have to prioritize your well-being. Instead of giving endlessly, you should be modeling balance and self-care. By nurturing yourself, you are better equipped to nurture other people and to nurture your kids and give them what they really need is love and hugs and support. You don't have to be perfect or give up everything to be a good mother. So drop some of the balls that you're juggling, that you're struggling with. Here's something this is what it looked like for me. Because I was struggling, trying to do it all in those early years when my kids were small. 3 small kids, a husband, working full time. There was times where I was in college, and also there were times where I was trying to balance religious duties in the congregation, right? I burnt myself out. By the way, I was a Jehovah's Witness. So let me put that out there. I'll talk some more about it. But I no longer wanted to pack lunches. If you want to eat lunch, pack your own lunch. You should be responsible for your own homework. You need to want to take a bath and brush your own teeth when you go to school because you don't want the kids talking about you and laughing at you. They're not going to be laughing at me saying I stink. because I didn't take a bath, because I take baths every day. You talk to your teacher and come up with a solution. I got my whole neck roll, honey. I'm passionate about this. You talk to your teacher because you're failing your class. You fill out all them damn papers they send home first day of school, a stack of papers, the same information they asked me for last year. I don't feel like it. You get yourself up for school. You learn how to do your own hair. Why? Because you don't want to go to school looking a mess. I'm not going to be there with you. Right? You spend all of your money at the mall shopping, and now you don't have gas money to put in your car to get to work. And you asking me for gas. No. You can get on the bus or you can get fired. My youngest daughter is good for this one right here. You're going to plan your time accordingly. And you're not going to tell me things at the last minute and expect me to drop everything I'm doing because you didn't plan. That's not fair to me. And I'm going to say no to you. Because what I tell her all the time too is, and she's doing a lot better with this actually, your failure to plan does not make it an emergency for me. So the philosophy that we live by in my house is you own your own life. Figure out how to get the shit done. Now I am here as a support system and I do it very age appropriate, right? But I'm not going to sacrifice my entire life or my day or my sleep for things to be responsible for your things that you need to be responsible for on your own. So if you're a mother, that's my rant. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to digress on that, but I can go on and on about that one, right? But let's jump into this lie number 3, the final lie I'm going to talk about, which is the lies about our sexuality as women. I think this is one of the most harmful lies that we've been taught, is that our sexuality is something to be shamed of or to be controlled and controlled by other people, right? So for generations, women have been policed, judged, and shamed for any type of sexual expression that we want to have. Now, we have been conditioned to believe that our sexuality is either inappropriate or it exists solely for the pleasure and approval of others, primarily men. And this condition starts super early. You know, we're often told that as young girls, that being sexual makes us less pure, less respectable, or bad, or slut, whatever other names you can throw in there. Or if you wear that tight dress, people are going to think you're loose or a hoe, right? A man is not going to want you if you're not a virgin, you have too much of a body count, all these things. So many women internalize these messages growing up feeling disconnected from our bodies and our desires and our right to experience pleasure. There's a statistic that says there's a high percentage of women who have never experienced an orgasm. Why is that? My theory is because we were told that our bodies were for a man's pleasure and we are not our own, and we're not our own. So we became so disconnected from our bodies and our pleasure and our desires, it turned into a damn pandemic, a statistic, right? So instead of seeing sexuality as a natural, beautiful, powerful part of who we are as women and something we should enjoy and have fun with, we're made to feel like it's something we need to hide or we have to downplay it or we should be ashamed of it, right? And we can say men have played a role in this narrative, but women have also. Our mothers and our grandmothers have also indoctrinated us with this too. And because somebody did it to them, they're just competing the pattern. And for the life, I feel like a man came out of a woman's body. So how can somebody that I birthed now be in charge or have authority over how I use my body and what's good and what's bad for me when it comes to my sexuality or what I want to wear? It don't make no sense. How does he get to be the authority? But the truth is, your sexuality is your own. It's not something to be controlled by anybody. Society, your husband, your boyfriend, not your culture, not your tradition, not all these religious expectations, which is a whole another topic altogether, because my personal opinion is that I believe that it's religion that play the biggest role in telling women how we should view our sexuality, how we should view our bodies through the lens of the male perspective, what sexual desires we can and can't have. And they use that to manipulate and to control women to behave the way they want it. But your sexual energy is a vital part of your identity and personal power as a woman. So reclaiming your sexuality means reconnecting with your body, embracing your desires, not being ashamed of whatever they are, and honoring your right to be pleased just like your partner is. So I am a very sexual person by nature. Some of you may have noticed. I enjoy sex. I enjoy talking about sex. It is a very easy and normal conversation for me. I have no shame in expressing my sexuality and what I say and what I wear and what I do. And I feel very dignified in doing this. You all may have noticed that sometimes I may wear lingerie in some of my videos because I enjoy the sensuality of doing that. Right? But do I get comments and judged and slut shame from people who are disconnected from their authentic self and who put their fears and their shame and their guilt they have about their own sexuality onto me? Yes, that happens. But I built an entire platform around women's sexual freedom. It's an app called Untamed Connect, and it allows women to be able to join a community of like-minded, sexually free and liberated women who support each other. And you can also upload video content of whatever you like. Connect with your fans, liberate your body, and make money doing what you enjoy. So check it out. I'll put the link in the video, but it's untamedconnect.com. So go to that website if that sounds like something you might be interested in. So you don't have to conform to somebody else's idea of what sexual freedom looks like. You can define it for yourself. Whether that means exploring your desires more fully or simply letting go of the shame, the important thing is that your sexual expression is authentic and aligned with who you truly are. Maybe you want to get into kink. Maybe you want to go to a swingers club. Maybe you just want to talk to your husband or your partner and tell him you've never had an orgasm. Whatever is true for you, right? So to kind of wrap up this video, and I'm going to talk some more about body shame and a bunch of other things about sexuality. But the lies that we've been told about womanhood, motherhood, sexuality, all serve the same purpose: to keep women small, compliant, and disconnected from our true selves. But you don't have to live within those limitations anymore. Why not? Because I said so. I am giving you permission today to reclaim your truth in your body. This journey to awakening begins when you first start to question these narratives that you've been given and start living from your own truth, from your own intuition. Drop all of the rules. How about that? That's what I did. Awakening is all about self-awareness. It's about realizing that your identity, your power, your freedom can only come from within you, not from anybody's expectations. The true secret to living a happy life is living as your authentic self. So you have to unlearn this conditioning that's keeping you feeling unworthy or confined, and that's stopping you from embracing the reality of who you really are and telling you that you're not enough. So as women, we have the power to rewrite the scripts, blow up your damn life. It's time to reclaim your truth, your worth, and your freedom. It's time to redefine womanhood, motherhood, and sexuality, what you want it to be, based on the truth of who you are. So you don't have to conform. I got this tattoo on my arm that says untamed. I can see it. And that's what it means, non-conforming, right? You don't have to fit into anyone's box. You are free to be the fullest, wildest, sexiest, most authentic version of yourself. That is where your power lies. So in another video, and I've been talking a lot about questioning the narratives, getting this self-awareness, right? Dreaming about what you really want, how to get rid of these scripts and different things like that. I'm going to talk about how to get rid of the scripts, give you guys some practical tips on how you can start to unlearn them. There's certain questions you want to start to ask yourself, right? So I'm going to talk about that. And I appreciate your time. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for rocking with me. I am new at this YouTube stuff. So if you guys have any insights, feedback, please leave a comment. Is there something that you want me to delve into and talk about? Drop comments for that too.